Tom Rucker retiring this year, 5 Final Fours, 20 trips to the NCAA dance. Michael Cyphers and Jim Stoop and the rest of our officiating crew. Tyler McKinney running the point for the Creighton Blue Jays. Lindemann loves to run backdoor cuts. Everything runs through Darren and Corver. Tough pass. Lindemann brings it in. Larry House is a swing player. Complimentary role player for Dana Altman's team. There's the double team of Corver. He's in trouble. Shot clock at 2. Lindemann will have to launch. A nice start for the Blue Jays, 3-0.
Key basket. The underdog always wants to get off to a good start. Great patience by Creighton.
Justin Hamilton has struggled at the point this year. You'll recall Teddy Dupay unavailable for this team for reasons that were well documented. Association and gambling cost him an opportunity to play this season. Colas gets it done. A nice jump hook. Getting the surprise start. He's the first in the scoring column.
And Florida does come out pressing Tim, even though it started a big lineup today.
Lindemann. That's a 2 just inside the arc.
Of course, both these teams have pressed during the year. It'll be interesting to see how they handle each other's pressure.
Loose ball. Lindemann comes away with it.
Tim, Creighton runs a 2-3 high spread offense with a lot of different options. Looking to get a backdoor there off the flex cut under the basket.
Florida Gators with the largest enrollment of any of the schools in the SEC, better than 43,000. Team, as I mentioned earlier, that got its way to the national championship game a couple of years ago, losing to Michigan State. And Billy Donovan has really built a juggernaut in Gainesville. Nelson with a ball fake. Can't get that one to drop. Long rebound to Tyler McKinney.
Tim, Florida has Justin Hamilton, a guard on Corver, their number 4 man for Creighton. He's an outstanding outside shooter. Florida is treating him like a perimeter player.
House looking to make a move on Colas. Nice defensive work by Bonell. And on the outlet pass, it's Nelson on the run out.
Excellent look up the court by Udonis Haslem. Terrific pitch ahead.
Wide open is House. Baseline extended. He gets an easy one.
Here Creighton sets in a 3-quarter court 1-2-1-1 half-court press. Trying to disrupt the Florida natural offense into their secondary break. Florida has to reset.
Hamilton. Not there. That's a shot that will oftentimes be there. He's got to be willing to take it, Eddie.
Here we see the cross-court pass to Lindemann. He looks across the court. Nice, easy baseline jumper by Larry House.
Talking about Justin Hamilton a moment ago, you see Terrell Taylor coming into the game. Play at the point, both from Orion Green and Hamilton, has been suspect in February.
We've got a very up-tempo game established here already. Both teams like to press. Both teams are pressing. Creighton is more of a softer press than Florida. Florida trying to steal the ball full court. Creighton 3-quarter court.
Brody wants it. Brody Darren, very physical player. Can't get that one to fall. Colas clears it to Brett Nelson. There's the bump. Very nice job that time done by Brett Nelson to force that foul from McKinney. You look at the Blue Jays profile in the Missouri Valley Conference. Omaha, Nebraska. They're so proud of this team. A school that has really flourished while Nebraska has struggled, the bigger school. There are a lot of fans of the Blue Jays that are also Huskers, but if Creighton is the front runner, they'll jump on board. Omaha, of course, the home of the NCAA College World Series. Colas took an extra step.
Colas not used to playing as much on the perimeter with this big lineup, Tim. He's uncomfortable out there trying to make plays. Here's the full court press of Florida trying to disrupt them at the 3-quarter court line. Now they got a transition defense, get back and pick up.
Ismail Carroll is in the game now, number 12, youngster out of Connecticut. A much better defender, very quick. They become a much quicker team in their pressure when Carroll is on the floor. Brody Darren gets Haslem airborne. And And Udonis, who has been foul prone throughout his career, gets an early one.
Well, that's a key thing, because Haslam has got to stay out of foul trouble, or Florida is very vulnerable. They do not have anyone that they miss more on the bench when he's on the bench than Udonis Haslam. Florida goes 2-3 zone underneath the basket. They feel it's much easier to defend zone plays out of bounds underneath than man-to-man plays, because, Tim, it's very advantageous to have the ball outside underneath your own basket.
Korver will trigger it in. Now he pops outside. This is a young man. The stat sheet on Korver is absolutely incredible. Kyle, in the Missouri Valley Conference, in 11 statistical categories, is in the top 15 in all of them. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
There he is, off the back iron. Stays with it, though, but it's recovered by Colas off the deck.
It'll be interesting, Tim, to see how Creighton guards Haslam at the low post when he's able to catch it.
Nelson's shot not falling early from deep. He's missed a couple of threes. Terrell giving it up to Terrell Taylor.
Here we see their 2-3 high, cutting off the high post. Two-man game.
Korver off the pick from Brody Darren. Long rebound by Bonner. Excellent pass. Haslam recovers it. But a foul prior to his move to the hoop against Brody Darren. Bonner. That one was deflected by Taylor. Hamilton rejected inside. Colas stays with it. Dabbert is in the game. He got a piece of one, and Anthony Bowden tried to recover it, but was on the sideline. It will be controlled to the Gators.
Well, here we see offensive boards by Colas and the Florida bunch getting up there and keeping the ball alive. Creighton is going to have to put bodies on people here today to get the Gators off the board.
Florida's 0 for 3 from downtown early on. Here's Carroll. We told you he helps them in pressure. Very quick, very defensive. And Ismail Carroll gets the first steal of the day. It's 9-4 Blue Jays. Bonner almost lost his dribble and then, in fact, turned it over.
Here we see Hamilton getting stripped by Cairo. Cairo takes the ball down, gets the angle to the basket, and hips Hamilton off for the easy basket.
Again, Florida's pressure almost causing the turnover, but Ismail Carroll keeps it in front of him. Taylor, the 6th man of the year in the Missouri Valley Conference, couldn't get that one to fall. I believe Korver may have been whistled for over the back. Haslam will come back in.
As we study Creighton's three-quarter court press, it puts a lot of pressure on Bonner. Hamilton, the second pass back, will be to Bonner. It will make Bonner a ball handler much of the game.
Nelson out of bounds. Korver will trigger it in. And David Lee checks in now for Matt Bonner. And you look at the turnover problem for Florida. Only one field goal, and they've missed 3-pointers. Over the top, Taylor rejected by Brett Nelson. A remarkable play. Korver for 3. Look out. Once he warms up from deep, he's better than 42% on the year from downtown.
Last time Florida hit the post up, James White. There it is again.
Haslam. And White manages to get it into Haslam's hands. Once he's got it down there, he's unguardable.
It is over, Tim, at the low post.
Korver again. And another bump. I believe Dabbert may have been whistled, trying to check Udonis Haslam. Joe Dabbert, the sophomore from Bailey, Colorado, picks up the foul.
Transition defense for both teams will be crucial in this game. When you are pressing, teams take it through the press to get fast break opportunities. You have to sprint back, talk, and pick up properly in transition, or you give up easy baskets.
White has really struggled with his shot of late. Puts that one down, and that's important. James White, highly regarded freshman out of Hargrave Military Academy, struggled in the SEC tournament. Carroll, not there. David Lee. These freshmen are really being counted on today to play appreciable minutes. White saving it, but it was last touched by Korver, trying to make the play down underneath. Orion Green will check into the game, normally a starter, but with Colas starting by Billy Donovan going tall, he now checks in for Justin Hamilton at the point.
Tim, this pace is up and down. I think it favors Florida at this point. I think they have more power on the offensive boards, although it's Creighton's pace as well, but I think Florida has the edge here early.
Haslam being doubled, quickly gives it up to Green. Udonis, tough inside there. That's an offensive foul, and that's very important. That's 2 on Haslam. He gives away the cheapie on the defensive end and now picks up the offensive foul, and Bonner will be forced in.
Well, here we see Creighton trying to figure out how to guard the man inside. They come running at him, and he runs over Dabbit. Unnecessary foul. Haslam not playing under control.
I'll tell you, the games that they've lost recently, Haslam's been in early foul trouble, or Nelson, and either one of those 2 options gone from that team for an appreciable time. They can't recover from that.
Creighton doing an excellent job, Tib, of looking up the court and throwing over the top of the press to negate it in the backcourt.
Korver over Bonner. Jump hook won't fall. Nice tap out by White to get it into Orion Green's hands. Well, he made his first one. He's going to keep shooting until you check him. And the scouting report of late would tell you White has not been a factor. So they're giving him that three-pointer, and he's flushing them.
Well, there we see Florida's press making Korver into a ball handler. Both these presses are getting the power forwards on each team to become guards in the backcourt, something neither team wants to have happen.
Pretty entertaining to watch, though, isn't it?
This is an up and down. It's an interesting game, Tim. Great pace to it.
Korver with the dump down to Dabbert. Fouled by White as he comes over to make the play defensively. Joe Dabbert, just over 5 points a game, backs up at center.
4th team foul for Creighton, Joe Dabbert.
Nice pick and roll by Creighton. It looked to me, Tim, that Florida tried to trap that pick and roll play, but did not rotate to play Dabbert going to the basket.
Mass substitutions now. Ladarius Halton and Bonell Colas come in for Lee and Nelson. Korver leaves the game, as does DeAnthony Bowden for Creighton. Tyler McKinney and Lindemann back into the game.
There's a timeout.
Well, he has to go to his bench, and it's not good for Florida. They're not nearly as good with their stud on the bench. It's a great advantage for Creighton.
Particularly when you consider how strong they are up front with Darren. He's a wide body, a space eater in there. Dabbert's a physical player to go along with Korver, who's sitting now. Both the big people are out of the game now, so they're going inside with Joe Dabbert. With Haslam out of the game, allowing Korver and Brody Darren time to get a rest. Shot clock under 10. Colas, again, that ball fake and a head fake leads to an extra shuffle. Tom Rucker calls him for traveling.
And there again, Tim, we see Haslam on the bench. Colas is having to play more meaningful minutes. 2 unforced turnovers created by Colas.
White with the near steal. He comes away with it. Can't get it to fall. Halton with the tip in. May have been called for the foul prior to that time, so wave it off. Ladarius Halton picks up his first foul.
Number 23, Ladarius Halton.
Now this is a spot throw, much more difficult against the press.
Lindemann quickly trapped. You see the shooting story early. After a 3-for-3 start, they've cooled, have the Blue Jays, 2 out of 9. Taylor to Dabbert, not known for his offense. Hey, it's tournament time. You never know who the stars of the future might be.
Well, the great teams have players step up, Tim, that don't generally get it done during the season. Creighton has changed his press from a 3-quarter court press to a full court press, much like Florida's.
Green off the bounce. As these teams warm up, and particularly Florida, their press works a lot more, as it does here after a made basket. Bonner doesn't hit. Bonner stays with it. Finally pulled down by Creighton. Mike Grimes comes out of there with it, number 34 in blue. Florida's struggles this year have come in games when they did not shoot well. They have real problems getting the flow of the game going when they're not making baskets. We've still not led in this game, and we're halfway through the opening half.
Florida to a 2-3 zone. Corver, their best three-point shooter for Creighton, out of the game. Florida decides to go zone, but gives up the easy one right in the middle of their zone.
Nice duck under by Grimes. 17-14.
Here we see Haslam becoming a ball handler. Creighton's press is bothering the fluidness and the motion of Florida to get into its half-court set offense.
Alton off the screen. Oh, the bank is open early on Friday in Chicago. I don't know that you would call that one. I think you would.
No, I was going to say bad shot, but now that's a good bank shot.
17-17. Taylor, too strong. Dabbert very active on the offensive boards, and yet another foul whistled inside. This one against Bonner.
Here we have Halton coming off a weak side screen, squares his body, gets good jump shot into the basket. Great balance there for Halton. Goes shoulder to shoulder off the screen.
Halton involved in that fracas with Brett Nelson. This is a young man that had really as much buildup coming in as a freshman in the same class with Brett Nelson as did Brett, and probably a little frustration for him. He did not play at all in the opening round game in the SEC tournament. He was not in a good humor when he got back to Gainesville, and a violation against Creighton, and Florida gets it back.
And Creighton going back to the half-court, three-quarter court, 1-2-1-1 half-court press, making David Lee now a ball handler in the backcourt. Creighton's going to have to decide how to handle Florida's screen on the ball. There's one right there.
Hamilton. Colas, nice tip. Very athletic player, Bonell Colas. Sophomore from North Miami Beach. That's the Gators' first lead. Mark it down. It took better than 11 minutes for them to finally get on top. Brody Darren back on the floor with Corver, and a block against Colas.
Tim, that's Florida's 7th foul already with 8:42 to go. Creighton will be shooting a 1-on-1 the rest of the way. Creighton has only committed 3 team fouls. That could be a big advantage going into halftime for Creighton.
Corver over the back. Tom Rucker whistled him, and Tom had just gotten an earful from Billy Donovan about the foul earlier against Colas. One of the dilemmas for Billy D's team has been low post defense as it relates to foul trouble.
Well, absolutely, and that's why they generally double down to keep people from getting in foul trouble at the low post defensively.
On the floor now, David Lee, the freshman, along with Orion Green, Hamilton, Colas, and Brett Nelson. And staying right with him is the best defender on this team, Larry House for Creighton. Number 20, shadowing Nelson everywhere he goes. Colas with the jump hook.
Well, we saw Florida work on that high-low play yesterday. Excellent pass by David Lee into Colas at the low post. Creighton needs to get around the low post. That's way too easy.
17-5 run now for Florida with a 2-bucket lead. House, too strong. Lee the rebound. And you mentioned earlier Creighton was making more shots, but the flow was Florida's. They're getting to a lot of loose balls in these situations now. Here's another example. They're going to call over and back now on the Gators, but they're getting to the loose balls more quickly than Dana Altman's team. Yeah, the last league to hold out on a conference tournament wound up having a 2-game, 3-team tournament anyway.
Tim, again, Justin Hamilton, a guard, is playing Corver. They believe Hamilton, with his physicalness and his quickness, can take Corver out of this game.
McKinney back on the floor, operating at the point, along with the Anthony Bowden, House, Brody Darren, and Corver. House off the bounce. Lee brings it down. That's an excellent defensive sequence for Florida. Orion Green with a double dribble. See, that lack of play at the point guard position at critical times has really bothered the Gators, although you see they are on a significant run of 17-5 in the last 6+ minutes.
Well, in my opinion, I believe Florida misses Ted Dupay more than anybody would really want to admit. Not only could he play some point, he made big-time 3-point shots down the clutch in clutch situations of close games as well.
Yeah, he also played with a chip on his shoulder. There was a nasty side to his game, which I think has been noticeably absent in this Florida team this year.
Florida's pressure is really bothering the set half-court offense of Creighton, and Creighton's having a lot of difficulty because of the pressure on the ball is not letting them run their set plays.
Colas picks up the foul. That's 2 on him. And remember, Haslam already sitting down with 2.
Pick and roll is part of Creighton's offense. Here we see Carver trying to set the pick and try to roll the goal. Carver has struggled in NCAA tournament play. He's not started off particularly well here last year against Iowa. Tim, 2 of 13 from the field.
Yeah, I think anytime you're the focal point, and you see there, he had open shots in that game. And were it not for the fact that he could not hit them, they likely would have beaten the Hawkeyes in that particular matchup. He's been asked about it all year long. I think it's become a bit bothersome for him, but the only way to eliminate it is to come out and get it done today. 21-19. Carroll a little too physical there with Brett Nelson, but that's his nature. He's a defensive, hawking backcourt player that loves to create turnovers. Taylor will now check into the game for Creighton. Another near steal by Carroll. White with the jump stop. Carver in the passing lane. Almost taken away by the Blue Jays.
I don't see any effect of the eye injury to Nelson so far, Tim. He's missed a couple of open looks, but he seems to be active, has good quickness to his game. I think he's fine.
The swelling is down noticeably from yesterday. He is 1 for 5 from the floor. And again, Colas called for the travel. He's much better in a situation where he gets the pass and just puts it up. Anytime he gives a ball or head fake, he moves his pivot foot, Colas.
Well, again, with the foul trouble to Haslam, it's making Colas play many more meaningful minutes than he would ordinarily play. Now we've got Green coming into Colas. Billy wants to settle him down.
You know, Brett, chatting with him yesterday, I mean, they clearly got their marching orders after the event. It would not have been a major news story, Eddie, were it not for the fact that he had to have surgery. When he went to the hospital, everyone in Gainesville knew, therefore, it became a distraction for them yesterday.
Well, fights are part of practice, unfortunately, in college basketball. Billy's a competitor. He wants his teams to compete. Tim, my best teams had major altercations at times in practice. As long as it's not a personality conflict, if you're going to be competitive, you can get into altercations when going after it.
Some have tried to make more of it. Some claim that, you know, Halton was tighter with Teddy Dupay and misses him. Brett Nelson was perhaps not as close. But that's, again, hearsay that comes after an event like that requires surgery and causes media unrest. Nelson with the loose ball. Oh, nice work. That creates the open shot.
Now that's Florida basketball, making the extra pass, penetrate, pitch. A good shot to a better shot, the extra pass.
Green with a steal of Corver. Numbers now for Nelson. Back to Hamilton and the foul. The Gators have it going their way. There you see the frustration in Corver.
Nelson penetrating in, gets into the lane, draws the defense, pitches, and the extra pass for the open 3 for James White. Nice play by the Gator players.
Florida out pressing Creighton at this point. Now on a significant run. Leading this game now by their largest margin of 6, 25-19.
And Florida is very, very small now there with David Lee as their center in this game. They have an excellent pressing team in the game now. Very, very small team for Florida.
21-6 run for them. That's given them this cushion here with just over 5 minutes remaining in the opening half.
Tim, the pressure that Florida is putting on the ball defensively is totally disrupting a very set continuity Creighton offense.
And they're handling the pick and rolls without a problem with Brody Darren and Corver. Taylor from deep. Carroll kept that one alive. Bowden finds Darren for the slam.
Brody Darren.
Offensive rebounding can cure a lot of problems.
James White has really been a spark for Florida. He's hit 3 out of 3. Here's Nelson, his first tray. 28-21. Look out if he warms up. Seven points, the cushion. Korver, not this time. Darren in traffic. They may have gotten away with a walk that time. A no call, but he may have taken steps. Bowden. Lee brings it down for the Gators. White really running the floor well to an open Brett Nelson. White over the back. Now Creighton working the offensive glass.
Well, Florida has gone small to get a better pressing team in, but you always see the dunk on the pass across after the offensive rebound. But now Florida is susceptible with their small team, Tim, on the offensive board, and Creighton's taking advantage.
You get a feeling that from a coach's point of view, Billy Donovan finds himself in sort of a counter-punching role trying to match up. Going into the game, he decided to go tall. Haslam got 2 early fouls. Then suddenly he went small, and that's when they became more effective.
Well, now we have Orion Green as the power forward for the Florida Gators on the court. Tim, I don't believe I've ever seen this lineup play for Florida all year.
Haslam, Bonner, Colas, and White all with 2 fouls, which has a great deal to do with why this lineup's on the floor.
Here's a young man shooting 89% from the foul line. 6'7".
He's son of a preacher man. His dad and the family from California moved to Pella, Iowa, where he's the denomination is Dutch Reform, and we're told the congregation in nearby Pella, Iowa, very close to Omaha, Nebraska, is very strong. His mother was an outstanding player in old 6-on-6 Iowa basketball. She once scored 74 points in a game. Halton, the iron unkind, from deep for Ladarius Halton. Fifth-seeded Florida with a 5-point lead, but 4 players in foul difficulty, including Udonis Haslam, their low post star, against a very tough pressing style Creighton Blue Jay team of the Missouri Valley Conference. Grimes on the offensive board. That's what's kept Creighton in the game. Dana Altman's club has been very effective, Eddie Fogler, on the offensive board.
Well, and Florida went zone there as well, because Korver again is out of the lineup for Creighton, their best shooter, and Donovan thinks the best way to guard them now is in the zone. However, they just blow by the Creighton press for an easy basket.
Yeah, don't blink. 30-25, Florida by 5.
Tim, there are 2 players on the court over 6'6" right now.
And Halton with another pickpocket to a wide open Nelson. That usually spells trouble. That time off the front iron, pulled down by Brody Darren.
Florida getting great looks, just not able to knock down open threes.
Nelson is 2 for 8 from downtown.
Tim, it's interesting. Coaches want to see what kind of offense the other team has on the court. With Korver out again, Florida believes zone is the best way to play Creighton. Plus, they're giving up the foul situation and want to keep out of foul trouble because they're already in deep foul trouble.
A little too much mustard on that pass from Bowden. And now Nelson misses an easy one and a foul over the back. And if it's on Colas, I believe it is, that's 3. Bonell forced into a starting role today.
Florida foul, number 42, Bonell Colas.
Here we have Nelson. They don't stop the ball. He gets right to the basket. Unfortunately, misses a chippy, and Colas over the back. The first thing you want to do defensively, Tim, in transition is protect the hole. Second thing you want to do is stop the ball. Creighton did not stop the ball.
2 shots.
Colas not known for his offense necessarily. He's had a couple of jump hooks fall in the game, but David Lee will be coming into the game, and also Ronnie King, a seldom used player, will see some playing time, which should indicate to you the foul trouble that Florida finds themselves in. King also checks into the game.
Well, Florida has 4 guards and David Lee on the court presently. It'd be very difficult to keep Creighton off the offensive board with that lineup out there.
And there's Darren, a little extra hook, and Brody Darren picks up his second. Those cheap fouls like that, Eddie, really bother coaches because you give one away in a position on the floor where you just don't have to.
Absolutely. Those drive coaches, as you say, bonkers. That's an unnecessary foul. You put a young man on the foul line, although Lee's not a particularly good shooter. Tim, if you can get fouled offensively every time your team as a coach, you are thrilled offensively. You'd win every game.
For Florida,
Young David Lee at the free throw line.
Shoots 1 plus the bonus.
30-25, a 5-point lead in a game in which Florida struggled early. Foul difficulty to Udonis Haslem. Then they went on a 21-6 run. Their press has certainly been more effective than Creighton's here in the early going, but they've gone deep into their bench and have committed them a number of fouls that could have them in the double bonus very, very soon.
There's a timeout.
7-point lead for the Gators, using their defense and their pressing style to turn over Creighton, a club that's used to doing the same in the Missouri Valley Conference. Tyler McKinney operating now at the point with Terrell Taylor, the 6th man of the year in the Missouri Valley. Can't hit the open jumper today. He's 0 for 6. David Lee and a wide open Ronnie King did not give it to him. Does it himself in the paint, and this is a celebrated freshman who will only get better.
Tim, if that's the first time you ever saw David Lee shoot a ball, you would swear he was right-handed.
Yeah.
That was a right-handed shot by a left-handed player. Incredible.
He broke his arm, and during the period of about a year while his arm was in a cast, he worked on obviously shooting with the right hand. Now you'd swear he's ambidextrous. He is that good.
Incredible. Florida still staying in the 2-3 zone. Let's see if they can keep Creighton off the offensive board. They're extremely small.
Wide open Grimes. Lindemann got it to him late. Now he dribbles through a double team. He took an extra step.
Florida ball.
1:26 remaining and the clock ticking here in the opening half.
Both these teams are deep into their bench.
Hamilton. Lee with the follow slam. Well, they've been expecting more from him lately. He's delivered with a quick 6, and the Gators have a double-digit lead for the first time today. Korver back on the floor. Kyle Korver, they have got to find a way to unleash him. I think the move of the day by Donovan has been putting Justin Hamilton on him. McKinney off the pick by Korver. They've reduced Korver into becoming a designated screener.
Nice pick and roll.
Lee, Korver into the passing lane. Halton rejected by Dabbert. Loose on the deck, and the scrum ensues. And a quick foul against the Gators. Some of the things you heard prior to this tournament were reminiscent of criticisms of a movie before a screening, in that obviously everyone that was a higher seed would have a home crowd opportunity. Well, guess what? Later today, Southern Illinois from Carbondale will be playing Texas Tech. And now, granted, it's 6 hours away, but an 11 seed with the pod system can sometimes have a home court situation over the higher seeded team.
Tim, I think we'll have to wait a couple of years, actually, to get enough data to really know, however.
36-29, 7-point lead. Shot clock is off. Florida holding for 1. 9 different Gators have scored in the opening half of this game. In fact, those 9 different players have come up with a lot of points, particularly in the case of James White when he came into the game. Nice slash to the basket by Orion Green with a foul.
Number 22
Goes against Michael Lindemann, the co-captain, along with Kyle Korver of this Creighton Blue Jay team.
Green just too quick off the dribble. Lindemann's feet cannot keep the ball in front of him.
For Florida, Orion
Lindemann
Green.
is the only player that has started every game this season for Dana Altman. You know, eyebrows were raised, Eddie, when Dana left Kansas State as head coach. They had beaten Kansas at Fog Allen Fieldhouse, and then he left for Creighton in the Missouri Valley. I guess at that time it was the Big 8. Many people thought, why would you leave a Big 8 school for a Missouri Valley? Well, Dana's homespun. He's a Nebraskan, and he also has a very good situation with his athletic director and the president of his university.
And Kansas State has not been the same since he left either, Tim.
Now, that was the last time they beat Kansas at home or on the road. Lindemann. The tip at the buzzer by Grimes. So some added momentum. Florida, in effect, was able to turn Kyle Korver into a role player. And that's not at all what Dana Altman needs.
Well, coming in, Dana knew if that was going to happen, he'd have a hard time winning here today. Billy, on the other hand, Coach Donovan has to be ecstatic to be up 7, and Haslam played only 7 minutes in the first half due to foul trouble.
Mike Wood, our alternate official, took a little long getting back. He was tardy, but we're back in play now. Udonis Haslam does start the second half, as does Orion Green. You'll recall Bona Colas got the start in today's game. And there's a foul inside as Haslam gets the entry pass. You look at the numbers, and again, 2 for 13 from downtown for the Blue Jays. And guess what? 24 of the 38 points coming from the bench for the Gators, and particularly James White, 3 for 3 from beyond the arc.
Huge advantage for Florida. And David Lee also participated in that bench points as well, Tim.
James White had only 17 three-pointers all season. He was a 26% shooter. Today, he's perfect, 3 for 3. Nelson now is really struggling. He's 1 for 7 from three-point range, 2 out of 10 overall, but it has not affected the other aspects of his game. I would doubt that the injury to his cheekbone has had anything to do with his shot not falling. Darren looking for the cutter, now does it himself. That's Creighton's set, and Darren's a strong body in there, very difficult to guard.
And Creighton going right at Haslam, trying to pick up his 3rd foul early in the second half.
4 points in the game for Brody Darren. Bonner gets the entry pass. Nice work by Darren. Very strong upper body. Bonner is 0 for 4 from the floor. He's failed to scratch. One of the most improved players in college basketball this year. So the coach is taking away some of the stars in this game. House. High arching off the window. Out of bounds. It'll be controlled to Creighton.
Dana Altman trying to pick up Haslam's 3rd foul early in the second half. He reverse pivots, creates an angle, and scores off the board. Haslam can't foul.
Brody Darren played for Kevin O'Neill for a year at Northwestern before transferring over to Creighton. House, little jump hook. Lindemann can't get the follow, and Haslam clears for Florida. First rebound of the day for Udonis Haslam. 2 early fouls forced him to sit. Unable to get lathered up in the opening half.
And Florida started its regular lineup here in the second half.
Haslam. Just his 2nd bucket of the day, 4 in the game for Udonis Haslam.
Coach Donovan started Colas, but Colas had unforced turnovers in the first half. He decided not to start him this half. He wants better ball handling and passes on the court.
Perimeter misses lead to breaks.
Just like that.
Justin Hamilton with his first field goal. He has 3 points this afternoon, and the lead is back to 9. Boy, Darren was wide open, and Lindemann missed him. Korver nails the tray.
They missed a 2 to get a 3, Tim. Sometimes there's no justice.
He has 10 points. That's just his 2nd field goal of the afternoon. Green, boy, Korver got his hand on that one. Haslam in traffic, pulled down by Kyle Korver. 42-36. Billy Donovan wanted a call underneath, did not get it.
Oh, my.
Off the back iron. Well, you can tell how badly he wants to get in the game offensively. Now, Dana Altman is not happy with that shot selection.
Number 23, Terrell Taylor. Number 21, Joe Dever.
6-point game. Dana Altman's club trailing, and he just witnessed his star player Kyle Korver taking a 32-footer that did not please him particularly.
And stared him down for that shot as well.
I think that tells you, though, how frustrated he is, that he wanted to take that shot so desperately to get a make. Nelson getting the pick from Bonner. They'll pick and roll with a 3-point shot. He's more of a face-up player, big-time scorer from deep. That's the aspect of his game that's really improved.
Bonner multi-talented, inside, outside. They pick and flare him actually on ball screens because he can shoot the 3 if necessary.
That's his first bucket of the day. Taylor.
Well, here we have Korver and Taylor struggling the first half. Both hit their first 3s coming out in the second half.
First points of the game for Terrell Taylor, the Missouri Valley 6th man of the year.
And both are in transition. Florida late picking up.
Haslam, boy, that's a nice pass. Right to Hamilton, not there. And a push on Haslam. That's 3. Donovan is in disbelief. This is just what happened to him in the conference tournament against Mississippi State. 3 early fouls. He only played 3 minutes in 1/2. And now he's sitting again. And with what Billy likes to do with his press, you know, Haslam's sort of a point man in that press. It really affects what he does defensively.
And offensively at the low post.
In traffic, nice work by Terrell Taylor. That ball was actually hit on the way up. He was able to control it while in midair. 44-41. Tim Brando, Eddie Fogler, Charles Davis. Happy to have you with us here at the United Center in Chicago. Midwest region first round game. Bonner. Lee, who's been very active off the bench today, gets to the offensive board and a foul, the end result. It'll go against Creighton. Tyler McKinney picks it up, and again, coming up next, many of you will see San Diego State against 4th seeded Illinois. They will have a tremendous crowd advantage in that game. Hampton, Connecticut, Penn, California, Hawaii against Xavier. Well, the Rainbows have an outstanding team. Riley Wallace's club, a true foreign legion.
Absolutely. Beat Tulsa 3 times during the regular season, and we know how good Tulsa is after their win last night.
That's right. Predrag Savovic. You've heard of Boban Savovic of Ohio State. Well, its brother Predrag is a tremendous talent that many people have not seen on the mainland. 45-41. Lee with 7 points and 7 boards in just 10 minutes.
Now they're going to Corver, posting up the smaller Hamilton, trying to get him unleashed here.
Ball was deflected by Lee. Again, the freshman starts it. Carroll into the game, a good defender, but Bonner's 3 on Nylon Song. His first from downtown. And after the made basket, here comes the pressure. Lindemann has a 2-on-1, right to Dabbert. And Green tried to save himself. Dabbert getting a little physical, but the officials very quickly break it up. The veteran Tom Rucker gets in there.
Here's the defense, the trap with deflection, active hands. Orion Green pushes it down the court, bobbles it, but finds an open Bonner who can knock down threes at 6'9".
He's Lambeer without the attitude. And Bonner is something special from downtown. 48-41. That was Matt Bonner's 46th 3 of the year.
Against zones, you want to get the ball to the middle of the zone and go weak side. See if Creighton flashes somebody to the high post versus this 2-3 Florida defense.
Shot clock winding down. Corver steps out for the tray. Now look out. He took a 33-footer a while ago that Dana Altman was not happy with. He'll take that. He has 13. He's the kind of guy, Eddie, that's going to get his points even on a poor day.
He's too good a shooter, getting too many good looks in transition. Florida has got to find him in transition, or he can bang those home all night long.
Bonner goes finger roll. Does not fall. Dabbert clears it. Brett Nelson, I beg your pardon, taking it to the rack. A couple of finger rolls by Brett have not fallen. He's missed a couple of layups today. Dana Altman wants more movement and spacing, and he sees neither. So the suffocating zone that Florida's deployed. Shot clock at 3, a stress test for Taylor, and he still knocks it down. Well, you can't defend any better than that.
That's as good as it gets defensively. You just got to congratulate the offensive team when they can make a play like that.
Lead down to 1. Both teams very streaky from an offensive standpoint. In many respects, they're mirror images of one another. And now this crowd at the United Center getting behind the lower seeded team. Tough shot by Lee. Now numbers for Carroll. And the bump from Orion Green. That's the second foul on Orion Green. Again, great defense here.
Florida plays excellent defense for 32 seconds, but Taylor jumps up over Orion Green, makes a very, very tough shot. And here's Corver. Coming out, wide open shot. That's way too easy for Corver. Florida's got to get into him more defensively and pressure his shots.
I tell you, his feel for the game, Eddie, I really love. Shot clock winding down. He recognizes, hey, I'm going to step out and force them to guard me from deep.
Well, Taylor's the one player Creighton has, Tim, that can beat you off the bounce. He can jump up over you on the offensive end of the court and make plays.
Yeah, he is a big-time conference talent. The mid-majors many times now have big-time talent. Hamilton, that's a shot that he needs to take more of. First three-pointer of the day for him. He has 6.
It was a pick and roll, but they slid behind the pick, and Hamilton pulled back and knocked it down.
Corver, jump stop. Well defended by Florida, out of bounds off the Gators. DeAnthony Bowden got that hoop. It's a 2-point game, 51-49. Brett Nelson, a nice ball fake and a deuce. Willing to take the 2 off the ball fake. There's the dump down to Darren. Lee cannot guard him down there.
Physical mismatch on the low post. Brody Darren way too strong for David Lee. Florida's going to need to double Brody at the low post.
Brody Darren has been very effective, particularly when Udonis Haslem is out of the game. 3 for 4 from the floor for him. Nelson, that quick trigger. Look out.
3-point field goal, Brett Nelson.
That easy 2 gave Nelson confidence.
Yeah.
Now he bangs home the 3.
4 for 13 from the floor for him. But there's the answer. Terry Taylor, a terror for the Blue Jays. 56-54. Udonis Haslem is going to check in on the next dead ball. Eddie, does that surprise you?
Not at this juncture in the game. 10 minutes to play. We got survivor you go here.
A 2-point game with clubs that mirror images of one another. White misses his first try of the afternoon. He was 3 for 3 from downtown in the opening half. But it's a 2-point lead, 56-54 Gators, and now White picks up a foul against Ismail Carroll. The Blue Jays on a bit of a run to open the second half. They trail by 7. That's the 3rd foul on White.
And Coach Donovan has seen enough. Haslem and Bonner back into the game.
Dana Altman's team very much into the fray, and Donovan having to deal with foul trouble. Corver knocks down a tray to give the Blue Jays their first lead of the half. He has 16, 57-56. Nelson can't hit. White crashing the glass. Second chance opportunity for Haslem just into the game, and he's fouled by Brody Darren. These are 2 teams that we felt coming in were mirror images of one another. As you look at the 12-5 matchup today in the Midwest bracket lower half, it'll be sized up with Kansas, the top seed, along with Stanford, who moved on yesterday in their win against Western Kentucky. Same half of that bracket when they moved to the Sweet 16. But Eddie Fogler, what we've seen are 2 teams that love to press, an open floor game, but coaches that get caught from time to time with matchup problems in the low post.
Definitely here tonight. Of course, Haslem now back on the court, creates the angle to get to the foul line at the low post. Be interesting to see what Creighton does to stop him in low. And Creighton now, Tim, has that confidence of twinkle in their eye.
Yeah.
They are playing with much more confidence here, and this game's going down the wire.
And typical of sites like these, Creighton, of course, Omaha closer to Chicago than Gainesville, Florida. But I think more because they're the lower seed, Illini fans that are beginning to fill the building, siding with the Blue Jays now.
Here's where the underdog has the home court advantage. I don't care where it's located or what the seeds are. 13
turnovers now committed by the Blue Jays. That's been Dana Altman's club's problem throughout the course of the afternoon. Hamilton dogged by Taylor. A normal starting 5 for Florida generally on the floor. Bonell Tullis got the start today. They wanted to match up with a taller team against Brody Darren and Kyle Korver. Foul off the ball will go against the Gators. Brett Nelson with his first. Well, Brett Nelson, of course, involved in the fracas earlier in the week with Ladarius Halton, left his cheek fractured that required surgery back on Tuesday. He struggled with his shot today, but showing no ill effects from the problem. I mean, the swelling is down from yesterday's practice. Gators turned the ball over just once in 17 minutes. That's been one of the real pluses for their team through the course of today's game. Bowden, too strong. Grimes keeping it alive. Ismail Carroll running the show now. Gets it to Anthony Bowden. Wide open, Taylor. An air ball, and Haslam controls. Nelson has the ability to cross over. Great pass inside to Haslam. And he took the foul inside.
And those big mitts just gobble that pass up.
Creighton foul, number 25, Kyle Korver. Third personal.
Watch Brett Nelson cross the court and gobbles it up. Great hands by Haslam and powers the ball up, gets to the foul line.
You've said this many times, Eddie. He is an angle low post player. Explain that. How he creates angles for himself.
He has the huge body and quick feet. He's not overly athletic. He doesn't jump over you with great spring. He's a body, strength, quickness player. And once he gets you on your hip, it is over. He scores or gets to the foul line.
The one concern for Haslam, not only today, but if Florida survives the rest of the tournament, early foul trouble. 2 straight games he's gotten into it. Nelson is fouled by Carroll. That's a 3-shot violation.
The Cardinals sin in basketball defensively, fouling the 3-point shot. Florida offensive rebounds, a missed free throw, and gets to the line for 3.
For Florida, number 10, Brett Nelson.
He can't believe it. You see he's got that whodunit look.
Ticky-tack, 3-point on the wrist, perhaps. Very close. Play on here. NCAA tournament game, Tim.
We have had, though, a couple of, I mean, they've called it very tightly today, inside as well as out. Players have got to make that adjustment, and Carroll, known, by the way, as a defensive player that will take chances. Sometimes that you'll get a foul on image only.
And Carroll's playing a lot more than Tyler McKinney here in the second half. He's much quicker with the ball and has done a much better job breaking Florida's press. But Florida now has pulled off the press against Creighton. Tyler
McKinney, the freshman from Urbandale, Iowa, inserted as a starter mid-season, has led this team to a 16-3 record for Creighton since taking over. Oh, Carroll doing a little Marcus Haynes act in the corner, trying to find Dabbert. Out of bounds. This is a team made up of a number of players from the state of Iowa. Of course, Council Bluffs is very close by, as is Pella, where Korver's from. Brody Darren, McKinney, Lindemann, as well as the star of the team, Korver, all players from Iowa. And I think that opened the floodgates when Korver came. As talented as he is, Creighton will have fertile territory in the farmland of Iowa for some time to come.
And Iowa basketball is much more noted for good players and many more players than Nebraska high school basketball.
Foul spotted inside as Dabbert, trying to body up against Haslam, gets the personal. Udonis Haslam back on the floor, and this is winning time under the 8-minute mark. Bonner up high, always looking low. Brody Darren choosing to front Haslam. Nelson, a runner. Oh, the iron unkind that time. Inside to Green, too strong. Haslam and bodies by Nautilus collide. Darren and Udonis Haslam. There's a lot of strength in that upper body for both.
Creighton foul number 43, Brody Darren. 4th personal, 7th team foul.
Florida gets to the bonus at the foul line first this half, unlike Creighton, which got there in the first half. The foul shooting contest down the stretch.
It'll go to the Bluejays. By the way, Brody Darren did pick up his 4th foul, so that will be worth watching inside, because they won't be able to defend Haslam as easily with Darren saddled with 4.
Well, you can be assured Coach Donovan's going to pound that ball inside to the big stud on the offensive end of the court.
Nelson into the passing lane, creating another turnover. 14 committed by the Blue Jays today. Now, this is a time in the game, Eddie, we've touched on it before. The difference in this Florida team this year without Teddy Dupay, you close down the number 1, 2, or 3 options, which are these guys right here, Bonner, Nelson, and Haslam. It'll force those guards to take shots, and there's Udonis.
Udonis, you know they're going to go in and try to get Brody Duran's 5th foul. That's too easy. They may have to substitute for Brody Duran here shortly.
Darren giving it up to Taylor. He's been their offense in the last 5 minutes. Korver to a cutting Lindemann. That's his game. Backdoor cuts are Lindemann's game.
Great savvy. Lindemann knows how to play without the ball. Overplay, backdoor layup.
63-59. One would expect that shots for Hamilton and Green would be allowed, but not for these fellas. Not for Nelson, not for Bonner. Loose ball. Oh, Taylor could not save it. What a break for the Gators. 3 Blue Jays around it. They could not corral the leather.
Matt Bonner gets called ball watching, and Lindemann just flashes straight in front of him to the basket for the easy layup.
Number 34, Mike Grimes.
And Brody Darren checks out of the game. Mike Grimes comes in for him. That's one of the things that not only is Bonner usually capable as a shooter, but also as a passer. Green over the back of Korver. An easy one for the officials to call, and we're in the bonus. It's 1-and-1 time at the other end. 3 fouls on Orion Green.
Third personal.
Beg your pardon, it is the 16th foul. So Jim Stupin, who had given us a 1-and-1 signal, was just 1 away.
Offensive rebounding foul, Tim. I believe that's the best foul in basketball. You want your players to pound the offensive board. It wasn't a 1-and-1. I like Orion Green's effort.
From now on, they'll be at the stripe to shoot the bonus. 1 and a bonus. Korver saves it, but it was deflected. Tom Rucker with the explanation to Billy Donovan. Shot clock still ticking. Tyler McKinney back on the floor. He's had trouble today dealing with Florida's pressure. Inside to Grimes, working on Haslam. Not a bad idea. Udonis brings it down with authority. 6 boards for him. Nelson with the dump down. Grimes with the foul.
How obvious the advantage for Florida to have Haslam on the court, offensively and defensively. When he plays without fouling, they're a much, much better basketball team.
I get the feeling early in games now, Eddie, because he's been foul prone, he almost plays with a defeatist attitude that he's thinking he's going to foul, therefore he does.
He has the look of the officials are picking on me, and I don't have a chance to play.
He's now 2 out of 7 at the stripe. He is a 70% free throw shooter, struggling at the line this afternoon. Grimes trying to create space. Gets it back. 3-second violation against Grimes.
Well, Grimes obviously is not the low post presence of Darren, and Haslam doing a much better job playing straight up, principle of verticality, not reaching down to commit any silly fouls.
Dana Altman pointing out to Tom Rucker, you know what, that was a 3-second violation, but Haslam is doing the same thing on the other end.
Pound that ball inside, Florida Gators.
Why not? On the baseline, he can make it look easy. His hands are so good, and he also has outstanding touch. Haslam with 10. Timeout, Blue Jays. Brody Darren, whom you mentioned, saddled with 4 fouls, is on the bench. So it's Korver, Grimes, McKinney, Larry House, and Terry Taylor on the floor. Hamilton has really given Korver a hard time. That's the defensive move of the day by either one of the coaches.
That's called scouting, watching tape, figuring out a way to take the best player on the opponent's team out of the game offensively. Justin Hamilton can really slide his feet. A very powerful athlete.
Green Haslam again on the glass. Tried to reverse it. Out of bounds. Last touched by the Blue Jays. You look at this scoring drought. 1 field goal in the last 6-17. Korver and Taylor did get untracked offensively in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Blue Jays led this game the first 11 minutes. And the Gators took over the last 9 minutes of the first half. Creighton has made runs, led briefly at 57-56 for 20 seconds, but the Gators have been on a 9-2 run since to reclaim the lead.
And Brody Darren back in to see if he can contain Haslam at the low post. You know Florida's going to try to go inside.
Nice high-low move. Korver got his hand in there to slap it away. He's a complete player. McKinney looking for him on the other end. Taylor running curls, but Hamilton on the switch can't get him. Now Nelson is stuck with Korver. Probably likes this matchup. Down low, now in traffic. Nelson again forces another turnover. Korver asking for a foul. He didn't get it. Haslam blows past Korver and collects yet another foul underneath. Get complete tournament coverage at cbs.sportsline.com or on America Online. Enter keyword CBS Sportsline. Our stat of the day, well, turnovers. And Florida not committing many in the last 23-45. And Brody Darren is just fouled out. That's his 5th.
Big loss. Watch Brett Nelson try to hold his ground. Deflection. Could have been a foul. Tough call.
Or in that case, no call.
No call. You can see, though, the difference in Korver backing down Brett Nelson as trying to back down Hamilton. You cannot back down Hamilton with his physical presence.
You know, Darren picked up, much as Udonis Haslam does from time to time, Eddie, cheap fouls early. And boy, in a 40-minute game, those are the ones that come back to grab you.
And Coach Donovan talked perhaps not even starting Haslam in this game because of the fact that he was worried about foul trouble. But how about Haslam just attacking the basket this last possession and going to the hole and getting to the foul line?
Something that I'm sure Dana Altman will point out at the end of the games. You know, coaches are great at remembering box scores. And Florida has gotten to the stripe, Eddie, 12 times in the second half. Now, they've only hit half of those free throws, 6 of 12 as a team. Haslam's now 3 out of 8.
Attack the glass. The senior does not want this to be his last game with a Florida jersey on.
But Eddie, Creighton has not gotten to the free throw line the entire second half.
After Florida being in severe foul trouble the first half. Interesting note.
Tyler McKinney operating at the point. This is almost a must-score possession. Taylor for 3. He answers, rattling it home in a quick 3. 2:28 and counting. Creighton still has 1 full timeout remaining. Florida with a full, but 3 30s. They have the lead. They just as soon the clock tick. Hamilton with Nelson, Haslam, Orion, Green, and Bonner on the floor.
Creighton picking up the intensity on level on the ball.
Haslam, boy, I tell you, Nelson saw a double team, knew right away Haslam had to be free. Near steal by Nelson, and a foul. 69-62, Florida in a game of runs was able to keep Creighton in a position where in 6 minutes they only had 1 field goal. But Udonis Haslam just picked up his 4th foul. Dana Altman's team has lost its inside presence in Brody Darren. He fouled out 2 minutes ago. And DeAnthony Bowden is going to get to the free throw line with 1:45 left. I believe there may be a discrepancy over just who picked up the foul, and also
I think there's a water problem,
yeah.
Tim. Somebody needed their bathing suit on over there. I think much of the water got spilled on the official scorer and the timekeeper.
Yeah, when Brett Nelson went for the steal, he went right into the alternate official Mike Wood's monitor, knocking over some debris and some software, some computer software.
Deflection, and Nelson, great hustle, puts it back, and watch Haslam head first. Foul, wipes out the legs of the Creighton player.
No reason for timing to be an issue there. I think they're saying that maybe 2:01 should be remaining, though, so the game clock itself will be changed. Obviously, it's in error now. I don't recall a college basketball game with 20 minutes and 10 seconds left in the years that I've been doing it.
Deflection. Very nice save by Nelson. Here's a senior. Udonis Haslem does not want this to be his last game. Excellent effort. Unfortunately, his 4th foul.
A lot of hustle here. Haslem picks up a 4th and in a very difficult spot. You know, he really feels as if he's been targeted.
That's not the cheap variety, however, is it?
No, that's the kind that you'll take, and certainly Billy Donovan wants at this stage of the game. From the floor burns are us variety.
Florida has 4 timeouts left. Any problem offensively for Florida, I would use a timeout instead of taking a chance on turning the ball over here. You know Creighton's going to, Tim, excuse me, Creighton's going to be pressing. If there's any trap, any emergency situation, Florida has saved their timeouts. They need to use them if they have to.
Anthony Bowden out of Hammond, Indiana. Transferred from Jacksonville, Texas College. Hammond is nearby Gary, Indiana. Only a stone's throw from Chicago. He's got a lot of fans and family here. 69-63. High pick from Haslem. Bowden runs right through it, no problem. Short arm that one a bit. Nice defensive sequence as Grimes blocks out for the rebound. Bowden to an open Taylor. He wants it. He feels it. He is TNT, igniting this Creighton team. 17 for Taylor in the second half.
Florida's going to wind up with 2 possessions to 1 if everything stays the same with the clock the way it is.
Haslem over Korver. Oh, Grimes lost the rebound. Boy, he'll play that one over in his mind overnight. 1:11 left, a fresh 35. Creighton extending that defense, and they get the turnover. Boy, Terry Taylor and Dana Altman surprising Hamilton in a key situation.
Here's another young man like Hamilton who can slide his feet. Taylor, but this time he's doing it to Hamilton. He keeps his head over the ball for the 5-second violation. Turnover.
Here's Miles Carroll in the game running the point. Remember, Taylor 5 from 6 from 3-point range in the second half. Grimes in traffic. Out of bounds was Orion Green on the overplay. 17 left on the shot clock. 44 seconds on the game clock. You know Taylor is the #1 option with a 3-point deficit, but you can't forget about Korver. There's Taylor up top. He's been hitting them from the wing. That's not the place on the floor he'd like to be. Off the pick. Oh! Oh! 69-69. 20 points in the second half. Timeout. Creighton on a 10-2 run just after a 6-minute drought from the floor. Hamilton had that 5-second call earlier, and Taylor picks him up with extended defense.
I'm looking for the high post pick and roll with Bonner out high. Hamilton's going to use the pick and roll to try to create off the dribble, penetrate pitch, pound it inside to Haslem or offensive rebound.
Hey, remember Butler with Mike Miller? Similar on the run to a Final Four against Michigan State in the championship. Could we see a reenactment? Nelson in the role of Miller. Not this time. Loose ball. We're headed to overtime. Tim Brando, Eddie Fogler, Charles Davis. Well, your first game on CBS, rookie, was a buzzer beater between Florida and Alabama. Your first NCAA tournament game on CBS Sports, overtime.
March Madness at its best.
I'm going to hang around with you a little longer.
I'm glad I'm with you and not on either of those benches.
Brett Nelson running that curl, going to the left hand. Tough shot. Korver the rebound. Taylor is on fire. 6 of 7 for number 23 in blue. The Gators have taken away Kyle Korver today for the most part, although he's gotten his share of points. Green and Hamilton have done a number defensively. Now Hamilton has switched to guard, obviously, Terry Taylor. Grimes in traffic.
And Haslem afraid to pick up the foul, backed off, and Grimes lays it in the hole.
Udonis is playing with 4. Brody Darren Low post player for Creighton already out of the game. He became ineligible with about 4 minutes left in regulation. A player control foul against Justin Hamilton turns the ball back over to the Blue Jays. In overtime, they lead it by 2. They went on a 7-0 run in the last 2 minutes to force overtime. Terrell Taylor hitting a big 3. And then Florida had a chance to win it, but Brett Nelson's runner was short. And that's a player control foul against Korver. Excellent work on the low block by Haslam with 4.
And last time Haslam was afraid to play defense, Tim, and gave up an easy basket. This time he had to step out and take the charge, or it was another easy 2 for Creighton. Nice play by Udonis Haslam.
The game summary really illustrates how this ebb and flow has been affected by runs. Both teams have been able to take the other out of what they want. Nelson really struggling with his shot. Korver keeps it alive. Now Ismail Carroll with numbers. Inside the foul. Orion Green against Grimes.
Well, Creighton beating the Gators at their own game. Excellent transition play. Moved the ball up the court. Pitched it ahead. Made a nice play. Watch. Carroll pushing the ball up the court. Team speed here, very important. Nice pass, dumps it inside to Grimes. He gets fouled and gets to the line for 2.
One of the storylines coming into this game was the injury to Brett Nelson. I don't believe the ill effects of the fractured cheek have had anything to do with his shot being off, but he has missed 15 shots from the floor. He's 4 out of 19. He was the go-to guy at the end of regulation. Now all of the momentum with the team from Omaha. 73-69 with 3:18 remaining.
Florida needs to have some poise and patience to get the shot it wants. It needs to pound this ball inside to Haslam.
Haslam in traffic. And Dabbert getting some help with Grimes on the low block. Foul will go against Dabbert.
Creighton foul, number 21, Joe Dabbert.
The Florida Gators have had so many close games. The SEC from the bottom up, the toughest conference, and the RPI would illustrate that. Those are last possession games, 4 of those. It's an incredible thing to consider. If you would lose that many games, we were there for one of them against Alabama.
And a team that generally in the past has won those close ball games at the end.
Florida substitution.
See the difference in Haslam in the second half, but he has struggled at the line. He's 5 for 10 at the free throw line. It appeared as if prior to that late run when Taylor got hot, that Florida had control of this game when Haslam came back on the floor and when Darren fouled out.
Number 22, Michael Lindemann.
But Creighton had just enough deflections, just enough turnovers to get Taylor 3-point tries.
And interestingly enough, Florida has gone big now with Bonner, Lee, and Haslam in the game.
And his problems at the line continue. 73-70 with under 3 minutes left. Ismail Carroll.
And that big lineup was put in to play a 2-3 zone.
And David Lee's been very effective, the freshman coming in. There's Taylor. That's an offensive foul. Haslam again with 4, puts himself in a position to pick up a charge.
Taylor out of control, trying to do too much too early in the possession. Udonis Haslam steps up and takes the charge.
David Lee on the floor with Brett Nelson, Matt Bonner, Justin Hamilton, and Udonis Haslam. Nelson with a nice recovery of the loose ball.
Somebody besides Haslam's going to have to be willing to make a big play.
Yep. Bonner a runner. Boy, does he have versatility in his game.
And there's a young man who's not afraid to step up. This 12 seed thinks it's a 1 seed right now, Tim. They're not an R anymore. They know they can beat this team.
Well, you coached in both the Missouri Valley Conference at Wichita State and at South Carolina and Vanderbilt in the SEC. I'd say the mid-majors are doing just fine, thank you, in matching up with teams out of a power conference. Well, Taylor really wants it. They've been unable to spot him in that zone. Now he gets it. Shot clock at 1. Now that defensive change by the Gators really helped. shot clock violation will go the other way.
Excellent defensive possession by Florida. The 2-3 zone with the extra size that Coach Donovan substituted in, and getting to the perimeter shooters has been very effective here the last minute.
Well, the former point guard for Patino and Providence Friar would make even Dave Gavitt happy with the defensive adjustment he made. Hamilton, tough pass, recovered by Lee. Nelson with a shot climb, winding down. Rainbow won't go. Haslam off the iron with 3 on the clock, and yet again struggling at the stripe, under 50% today. He'll have to go and earn it at the line, and Korver just picked up his 5th.
Personal foul.
So they certainly don't want a second overtime with Korver out of the game. 16 points and 6 rebounds for the star of the Creighton Blue Jays today, and it has been a long day for him offensively.
Udonis Haslam, a warrior, works the offensive board, and with those great hands gobbles up the offensive rebound, powers it back up, and fouls Korver out of the game.
Oh.
And is he happy about it?
Yeah, and a little anxiety because he knows he'll have to earn it at the line, where his travails have been well documented. Not easy at the free throw line when you're there at point blank range. I'll tell you, I've watched this young man through the years grow and mature off and on the court, and he is really a heck of a guy. One of the great stories for Billy Donovan, of all the super players Donovan's had in building the Florida program, you know, Billy would even tell you the player he'll miss most to graduation is Haslam.
Never takes a possession off, never takes a day of practice off, gets better and better as a fabulous worker.
One of those outstanding stars that decided, you know what, I'm going to help build a program and stay 4 full years at Florida.
If Creighton works the ball and has patience here, they could wind up with 2 possessions to 1 for Florida down the stretch. 1:10 to go.
Yeah, and again, unable to convert both. He's 6 of 13 at the free throw line, tied at 73.
And now Tyler McKinney back in to get another shooter on the court for Creighton versus the 2-3 zone. Excellent substitution by Dana Altman.
Tell you, Grimes has been active on the offensive boards, number 34 in blue. But with Korver out of the game, Taylor, you would expect to get a touch. And again, the clock winding down. Florida's defensive adjustments have absolutely gotten into the heads of the Blue Jays.
And with Korver and Duran out there, not very comfortable offensively. Creighton really struggling to get shots against this tall Florida zone.
Number 3,
D'Anthony Bowden comes in for Michael Lindemann. But with Korver out and with Darren out, it really limits what Dana Altman could do, doesn't it?
Tim, we have a replay of the regulation. Florida can play for 1 shot to win this game. Let's see if they can get better organized.
Uh-oh, there's the defensive pressure and a loose ball. Tie ball, the arrow to Creighton. Blue Jays get it now. Well, that's sort of Dennis the Menace look of his. He appears to be 25 years young now. I told him he looked older when he was at Kansas State with a mustache. This is a moment for him, a chance to pull off a little March Madness miracle.
Creighton again is going to want to try to do what Florida did, is get a shot up with 3 seconds to go and have a chance to offensive rebound this game. Florida staying in the 2-3 zone.
Taylor, the tip. We're headed to a second overtime. This is the upper half of the Midwest region. You see Kansas and Stanford have advanced in the other half. That being played in Stanford, in St. Louis, Missouri. And here, of course, this Florida team trying to advance in what has been the most difficult seeding so far with the new pod factor, that being 5 versus 12.
Well, I'd rather be a 6, Tim, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's something to be said for that. I recall when Gonzaga's people were so upset, and probably for good reason, that they went into the 6th seed. A lot of old coaches would tell you you'd rather be a 6 or a 7 than a 4, because you stay away from a number 1 seed for an additional round.
Creighton ball.
Well, you'll recall it was in the year 2000, Butler's Lavelle Jordan was sent to the line with just seconds left in OT against Florida in the first round of the tournament. An outstanding free throw shooter, did not go. He missed both, and then Mike Miller was able to provide the difference with a runner at the end of the game. Who knew then that Florida would be playing for the national title against Michigan State?
Creighton really struggling versus this tall Florida zone. Let's see if they can get better organized, to see if they can get the ball to the high post and then to the weak side for an open shot.
Grimes in traffic. Dabbert can't hit. Loose ball again. Lee saves it. They've had a foul prior to the shot clock violation. We do. It goes against Dabbert. A little too physical underneath. Four fouls now on Dabbert as the Blue Jays begin to run out of talent for the low block. Well, in overtime, Florida has history on its side.
Foul shooting is critical down the stretch of any close game. David Lee only a 57% foul shooter. Tim, both teams, however, are in the double bonus.
Makes you wonder when a guy struggles like that from the line. He's got a good stroke. His ability to shoot both with the left as well as right hand, that he might make a change.
Maybe he ought to shoot right-handed as good as he is with that right hand.
Dabbert sits down with 4. Creighton now really depleted in its front line. Other than Grimes, not much there. It's a very small lineup, Eddie, for Dana Altman.
Versus a very big lineup for Coach Donovan. Tim, versus zones, you want to try to get the ball to the middle of the zone, to the high post. You can do damage to both sides of the court if you can get it to the foul line area. Creighton needs to flash somebody to the middle.
Taylor lining up at the right corner of your screen. That's where he wants it. Off the bounce. Thank you. I mean, this guy is lights out. McKinney giving pressure to Hamilton. They have been able to turn him over a couple of times. Once in regulation and once in overtime. A 5-second call went against him and then a loose ball. And Grimes fouls Haslam, and that should be 2. And for Haslam, that could make a difference because he's really been struggling at the line. In the double bonus.
A total mismatch in low. Grimes trying to get around Haslam. Impossible with that big body. He gobbles it up as he always does. Foul. Creighton is going to have to do something different on the defensive end of the court, or they're going to continue to put the ball in Haslam's hands.
Udonis now 7 of 14 at the stripe. All in the second half. I mean, he's been living at the line. This time he converts both. But without Brody Darren, without Kyle Korver, Grimes is athletic, but he's certainly not physical. They can go to Haslam all they want.
And on the defensive end, anybody outside but Taylor, Florida's got to be happy with the shot.
Given the lineup that Altman's having to go with, a win now in double overtime with the personnel he has would be that much more miraculous.
It'd be incredible. Really struggling to get organized, however.
Taylor trying to go one-on-one, and they run 2 at him. Bailed out by DeAnthony Boughton. He's quick. A shot clock violation.
Shot clock violation.
77-76, and you see Kyle Korver, who struggled in the opening round loss to Iowa last year. Today, 16-5-2. That really doesn't underscore how difficult it was for him to get off a shot. I mean, Justin Hamilton did a tremendous job on him defensively.
Now Florida's trying to post up Bonner or Haslam.
Tough pass knocked away by Taylor.
Tim, Florida has so many mismatches. They have their choice if they want to go to Haslam or Bonner, or even Lee now. I can't believe Dana Altman ever dreamed he'd have this team on the court in a double overtime.
This is one of those, you got to deal with what you have remaining. And an offensive foul against Bonner. So you talk about true grit, playing defense with your feet. That's what Creighton's having to do here.
Excellent by Linneman. Slid his feet very, very well, but Bonner thought it was too easy, so he just pushed off, didn't have enough patience.
Creighton's had long and arduous tasks in their half-court game since Florida went to the 2-3 zone.
Taylor now running in and out, inside and outside. Oh my.
Off the front rim, loose ball. DeAnthony Bowden gets it back out to McKinney.
Somebody but Taylor's going to have the courage to knock one down here. As Florida knows where Taylor is every step of the way.
Well, he wanted the shot so badly that he forgot about reeling in the pass. That was just an anxiety turnover by Terry Taylor. 22nd of the afternoon for the Blue Jays.
I hate to be redundant. This ball's going inside.
Well, don't bother.
It's going inside, Tim.
In broadcasting, repetition's a good thing. Inside Haslam. See?
That wasn't very hard to say. That was an obvious fact.
Florida scored 25 points off turnovers, most of them in the second half. Grimes, that's a tie ball. Arrow to Creighton.
The ball stays with Creighton.
Here's Haslam, a man-child in low, just getting Grimes on his tail, and it's a mismatch in here. This could go on every possession for an easy 2.
Yeah, the moment you knew that this game was going to see a second overtime with Corver out with 5, it was clearly advantage Florida.
Florida will know what road.
Bowden almost lost it. Out of bounds to Creighton. Last touch by Justin Hamilton. And again, those are the critical outs. Corver and Darren. One a low post player. Corver, the most versatile talent the Blue Jays have. Player of the year in the league. Dabbert, the other physical player, really rendered a non-factor because he's not a scorer.
Who's going to be willing for Creighton to step up and have the courage to knock down a big shot here outside of Taylor, who Florida knows where he is at all times?
McKinney's rainbow woefully short. Lindemann the follow. That may be the answer. A missed shot and a tip could be their best offense.
Offensive rebounding. Sometimes it is your best offense.
Under a minute in the second overtime.
23-second difference in the shot clock and game clock.
Bonner, yes, and a foul.
Creighton foul number 22.
Here we see Bonner coming off a cut to the basket. Lindemann gets hung up on the screen by Haslam, powers it to the basket and gets scores.
One shot.
Yes, Coach Donovan.
He may be older, but he's still living vicariously through the players. John Pelfrey, one of his assistants, one of the unforgettables for Patino and Donovan at Kentucky. Just as into it. He'll be a head coach one day.
Still a 2-possession game now, 45 seconds to go. Creighton down 4. They need a good shot, whether it's a 2 or a 3. And then take a timeout if they can score.
Yeah, and they need to get it up quickly because it is a 2-possession game.
Time.
Yep. Was that a timeout?
That was a timeout. Creighton's got to figure out who to foul and take their chances by fouling someone and hope they miss free throws.
Well, remember, Haslam has missed half of his tries today.
And of course, Florida's going to want to keep it in good foul shooters' hands. There's your timeout.
Yep.
Florida's going to want to keep the ball in the hands of their best foul shooters. Creighton's going to have to foul. Any emergency timeout, they still have 3 left.
5-second call. Billy Donovan saying, please, would you take the timeout? Please. But again, you know, those are times offensively, and I think that's where they miss Dupay most. Not on the defensive end because Green and Hamilton can play defensively, but those kinds of breakdowns on the offensive end is where they miss it.
I agree. He might have been taking the ball out of bounds, perhaps, Tim.
Yep.
Florida's sticking in the 2-3 zone. They got to know where Taylor is every step of the way. They must touch him, literally put a hand on him.
They're going to put the ball in his hands, one would think. Knocked away by Lee. 9.9 left on the game clock. Carroll. Hamilton defensively, a scrum, out of bounds. Boy, what a break. Had that been a tie ball, the arrow would have gone to Florida. Instead, it's out of bounds. Creighton now has it with 4.5.
No timeouts left. Here's the deflection by Hamilton. Excellent effort. He tips it, and it's off of Florida. Still Creighton's ball. No timeouts left for Creighton. Difficult play versus the zone from the side out of bounds.
McKinney's a three-point shooter, as is Taylor. Bowden can drive. They don't have to have a 3, but you'd think they'd be thinking that way. Taylor for the win. Got it! straight trips to the NCAA tournament, and Creighton may have finally gotten into the win column for Dana Altman. That's it. The Blue Jays become the third 12 seed to knock out a number 5.